Your job consists not only of just, focusing on growth, but you're kind of a fixer for EXP in a lot of ways, aren't you? You kind of go around, you figure out, hey, where can I grease the wheels on this thing? Where can I help things, work a little bit easier for everybody? Tell us how that works.
Yeah, it's funny because when you look at how the real estate business is done, for every company, there's a different way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
We see some similarities, but man, like every single time we get into it, like this morning, my first thing this morning, I'm on the company. They've got 100 agents and they're saying yes to the dress. They're like, we're coming. I'm like, we should have talked about that a week ago. So it's that planning and moving the people and then just figuring out like what makes sense because people have all these different scenarios. So some of the people come to us, Mike, we've got 3 reasons a brokerage or a big team person wants to come to us. Okay. 3 reasons. Okay. 1, They want out. Like, I'm done. If I could drive it into a brick wall, light it on fire, walk away and be unscathed, I'm done. Like, I want to go sit on a beach and sip on Mai Tais, right? That's one. It's like, I'm done with this. Okay. Second one is the one I love. They're like, I don't want to do it like this anymore. Because the way I'm doing it right now doesn't really work that well for me. And a couple of reasons for that. You'll see brokers or teams, they get their team being built and they're getting their brokerage being built. And they realize they start to do this because they want freedom, Mike. They're like, I want to have my own thing. I want to write my own check. I want to be in charge of my own destiny. And they're like, I want to have freedom, right? And what happens is they set themselves in this position for freedom and they build the team or they build the brokerage. And the more people they add to the team, the more bars they add to the cage.
Mm-hmm.
It's their own cage they're building around themselves. And they get to the point where they can't see anything through the bars they've built on it. The bigger they get, the less freedom they have. And then at some point they start realizing, and this is industry wide, the agents have been pushing harder for more commissions and more commissions and more commissions and more commissions. Do you remember back in the good old days? Like, I know you weren't in business and I wasn't at the time, but in the 70s, 80s, 90s, going into 70s, 80s, 90s, everybody's on a 50-50 split.
Dude, right? I started in 1991, so yeah, I've been around since then.
Okay, so you get a little bit of upward pressure into the 90s and 2000s. It's going like it's 60-40s, and then of course KW comes in. Now it's 70-30s, and then you got Remax comes in. It's 95-5 with a monthly fee, and you've got all this upward pressure. And they're like, well, I could just go over to Remax and get 95. So the agents are pushing harder and harder and harder to keep more dollars, which understood, right? So you've got a scenario now where they get into business, they set their stuff up, and the agents just nibble at them as death by 1,000 cuts. At some point, you're just like, I'm just tired of fighting the system I built. So they're looking like, I don't want to do it like this anymore. I want to get back to doing the stuff I love. See, Mike, when you're under your own umbrella, and you can just check me up if I'm going down a rabbit hole you don't want to go down, just pump the brakes.
No, this is good. Here's the thing. I think this is good information because, again, we're going to come back to, we're going to circle back to, what is 2025 going to look like? Yeah. Are we in a stall? How do we get sellers off the dime? How do we get them to move? And how do we deal with all this upset in the decision? But I think that this context of, where are we at from a brokerage standpoint? I think that's really important because, to your point, there was this time period where, you started seeing these new models coming in back, in we'll call it the late 80s, early 90s, you start getting Remax coming in. And all of a sudden, agents are pushing for, I want to get more commission. I want to get more commission. The problem is, you got the top producers, the ones that are really doing a lot of business. And what they really want is, hey, look, man, I just want to keep as much of my commission as I can. And I want to be left alone to do my thing. The problem, though, is that you've got a lot of middle to low producers that expect the same thing, and they need a lot more support.
Yes.
And so I think that's a major component. And the problem is that the industry hasn't been, for those models, we'll take Remax as an example. Traditionally those models have not been equipped to handle that, to be able to both handle the really experienced and really, high producing real estate agents, and at the same time be able to provide the training support and systems needed to help those lower producers.
Right. So the issue is that we've got people that are wanting Nordstrom service and paying Walmart prices.
Absolutely. That's right.
And it's never gonna win, right? So what ends up happening in this brokerage scenario and the team scenario, it's like, let's just say this is a team or a brokerage, either one, right? You've got a list of things you like to do. So Mike, first thing I do when I'm talking to people is like, well, what do you love to do? A team lead, like, what do you love to do? Or broker, what do you love to do? Actually, agent, what do you love to do? And they're like, I like working with clients. I like teaching and training, coaching. I like the mentoring. I want to grow stuff and support people and love people to success. That's their list, right? And I was like, all right, so what you didn't list is all the things that you don't love to do. Okay. And very, very seldom will anybody mention anything on this list over here that don't like, which is dealing with compliance, dealing with bookkeeping, dealing with accounting, dealing with paperwork, dealing with the cities and the states and the local brokerages and the MLSs and the boards and the complaints and the ethics and the training and the MLS issues and then the documentation issues and complaints from buyers and complaints from sellers and complaints from agents and complaints from tenants, dealing with toilet paper. By the way, when you've got 28 offices under you with 1,400 agents, toilet paper becomes a real line item. Like nobody's like, I want to deal with toilet paper issues. Okay. So you get this list of stuff that you don't like to do. And the team leads do this too. They get more people, and the more people they get, the more time they're just working on the stuff that's the non-money making activities and the back end money making, the back end activities get things done. They're like, well, it's got to get done. Yeah, but you're not doing what you love anymore. So what happens in a lot of brokerages and a lot of teams is they get to that 8, 9, 10 range, and they find that like once you get north of 5 or 6, they're spending 50 and 60% of the time working on their teammates instead of doing sales. So what happens is a lot of these people, they get to 5, 6, 7 agents or 10 agents on their team, and they're actually making less dollars and working more hours than they were as a solo agent. Yeah. So this is where we get the people who are like, I want to shift. Like I don't want to do it like this anymore. So let's get you back to doing what you love, right? And then a third option is the one that I really love too. And it usually goes in conjunction with number 2. And the third option is they want to level up. They're like, I'm here, I'm doing okay, but man, I'm seeing these other people that are doing like way more top shelf. Like I'm watching people doing a lot better job or it looks like they're having a lot more fun because there's misconception out there. We make it look like we're having a great time even when we're not. So they're like, I want to be more like Mike. He looks like he's having a great time doing this. And I'm like, I know Mike, he's not having a great time doing this, but it looks like he is. So let's get you to level up this game. So like you're stuck at 100 million. It seems like, dude, and we see this with brokerages all the time. They get to like 25 or 30 and then they get stalled out. And the reason they get stalled out is because the amount of time, energy, and effort they're spending on the back end means they can't spend time on the front end. So they can't get people because they're too busy working on the people they've already got. And you got to keep the people you already got. So then the brilliant ones are like, I'm going to hire somebody. And then they hire somebody to work on the back end stuff to get them back on the front end stuff. But now they need another 30 people to afford to pay for the person working on the back end. So you got 30 more people and you're still at 0. At what point do you stop the madness? You feel like you're on a merry-go-round. You're like, you're really flying. You're moving, but you're going around in a circle, right? The only thing more fun than running fast, Mike, is running fast in the right direction. Mm-hmm. So we see people are like, I'm running. Like, yeah, it's great, but you're running in a circle, right? It's like, how many holes did you dig today? 50. But they take the dirt out of the next hole and they fill the hole in they just dug. At the end of the day, they got 1 hole, but they worked their butt off all day. They dug 50 holes, net 1 at the end of the day. So we start getting to this scenario where we've got to start looking at this hamster wheel and say, how do we get people off this hamster wheel? So, and then there's a lot of agents that are on that same thing. Right? The bigger they get, the less they're doing the things that they love. So there's a bunch of this stuff. It starts in a micro with an agent, and it goes into the macro with the brokerages, and then you get brokerages the size of us. We've got 88,000 plus or minus people, and you sit back and be like, that. A lot of people say, well, that's 88,000 problems I don't want. It comes down to systems, baby. It comes down to systems, right? And it's getting the right people in the right seats and the right bus. Like, man, I don't like doing compliance. Good news is we got compliance people, and there's some people that love that. So
yeah, there's certain problems that only scale can solve. Yeah, yes. And you talk about I'm digging one hole and putting the dirt back in the other one, or I'm going this merry-go-round, just going around and around. The reality is, we find that teams that grow to, let's call it 25 to 50 agents, tend to be very successful, tend to be very profitable. That's a 7-figure team, net income to the team leader, and they tend to have pretty good stability, right?
Well, hang on a second. That's when they are taught, trained, coached, and guided to that by someone like what you guys do, right? I mean, it's one of the things I love about what you guys do with Club Wealth is you're going to not just have somebody like, dude, we built all these big teams. I'm like, you built a bunch of teams that are losing their ass. That makes no sense. Like every day they're dragging their donkey because they feel like this is no fun, right? So building a profitable team, there's a difference between building a team and building a profitable team. So a lot of what I get is people that are in these positions like, I don't want to do this like this. So it's like, if we can get you, so let's do this. We're going to put you on our platform and get you over here. We handle the 90% of that back end. This pile goes here. This pile goes here. Now you are back doing what you love.
Right.
So if we,
it's interesting you say that. We find that a lot. When you look at the difference between tier 1 and tier 2, tier 1 is 0 to 25 transactions a year. Yeah. Tier 2 is 25 to 75. Tier 1, you're generally talking solo agent doing their thing. They're keeping it all. And so it's a grind. Don't get me wrong. It's a daily grind and it sucks, but at least they know, hey, I'm making money, right? All right, then you get into tier 2. Tier 2 is a whole different ballgame. Tier 2, by the time I get into there, I'm not only doing all of that stuff for me, but now I've got to go out, find, recruit, hire, train other agents. And as I find, recruit, hire, and train these other agents, I've got to support them with systems, tools, technology, staff, everything. I got to have all this stuff to support them. All of that costs money, time, effort, energy, which is taking me away from doing the things that really make me money, like, making my calls, right? Lead generation, lead follow-up, lead conversion.
Yes.
And so tier 2, what we tell people is, tier 1 sucks, but tier 2, the only thing that sucks worse than tier 1 is tier 2. And that's because you're actually making less usually in tier 2 than you made in tier 1. Then you start getting into tier 3, right? Tier 3, all of a sudden I'm doing 75 to 150 transactions a year. My team's starting to grow. I'm starting to kind of get back in the groove. My team's starting to make more money for me than I'm making for the team, right? That's important. And then by the time I get into tier 4, the big challenge we see in tier 4 is 150 to 250 transactions a year, is that a lot of times agents want to get out of production by the time they get in tier 4.
Yeah.
Reality is it's too early. They're not ready to get out of production yet. They shouldn't even consider it until they get into about tier 5. I'd say even mid tier 5, which is 250 to 500 transactions a year. Now, that being said, what you're talking about is how do we get a lot of this stuff off that agent's plate so they can focus on only the things they want? And I'll tell you, the first thing that you got to do as a team leader, what people have to do is they have to stop thinking they're the only ones that can do stuff, or that, they're the ones that can do it the best.
Nobody's going to be the ones to do it. Nobody's going to do it as good as me. You're right.
Exactly. Dude, it's all the time. It's constant. I mean, think about the dentist, right? Last time you went to the dentist, did the dentist clean your teeth?
Nope.
No, man, his freaking hygienist did it, right? In fact, how much time did you spend talking to the dentist when you were there last time?
Good news is I was there last week and he was looking at me like we talked about his car.
Right? That's exactly my point. Yeah.
I've got great teeth. So
you spent 90% of the time with the hygienist and you spent maybe 2 to 5 minutes with the dentist. He's like, yep, looks good. He'll look in your mouth, a little mirror. Oh, I got an MU on the 24 bicuspid, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. Okay, looks good. Don't forget to brush and floss those back teeth. All right, we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Tell the missus I said hello, right? Like, it's literally like that. It's stupid. And I say it's stupid. It's great for him, right? That's how you run an actual business. And the dental industry has figured that out. Real estate is still trying to figure this out. It cracks me up.
Club Wealth is the only coaching company on the planet that will literally guarantee that you will double your income or make at least an extra $100,000 your first year coaching with us, or we will give you 100% of your investment back. Click the link below, sign up for the appropriate tier level, and let's get you a strategy session today. And I promise you, I 100% guarantee you, promise you that you will walk away with a heart full of gratitude for the time that we took for you, because you got so much value out of that call. Schedule your strategy session today. I promise you'll be glad you did.